Hi, Rich Friesen here with Rich's Reframes. My mission is to take a complex problem with a lot of difficulties that can't be solved and create a lens that creates some clarity and maybe a new path and some new possible solutions. So welcome to Rich's Reframes. So today I'm going to talk about higher education and the $1.6 trillion in debt that our students are being burdened with. So what I noticed was that Schumer, in a tweet, I noticed that Senator Schumer is proposing that Biden, within the first 100 days of his presidency, give $50,000 of debt relief to every student. So I thought, wow, this is really complex. We have all this debt, we're giving debt relief, legislation, but what is the underlying cause? What is deeper than that? What is the foundation? What created this problem in the first place? And maybe if we understood that, we could come to some solutions that made sense. So, as we know that student debt has exploded, but so has college tuition. The origins of this go back to the Great Society and starting federal loans to students. So here is the first part of the con. So the government gives loans to students. They pay for reasonable tuition and they get a reasonably good education. But colleges and universities say, oh, here is an opportunity. We're going to raise the tuition. So the government says, okay, we'll just give the students more loans. The colleges and universities say, okay, we'll raise the tuition. And this goes around and around and around for the last 40 years. And we can see that even in the last 20 years, looking at the chart behind me, that higher level college and education has more than doubled in the last 20 years. My gosh. So this is fascinating because the government gives money to the universities, but rather than just giving them subsidies, they pass it through the students and then put the debt on their backs, and the colleges and universities can then expand. $1.6 million in student debt. In order to imagine this, imagine a pile of $100 bills that's worth $10,000. Imagine stacking those on a pallet about 4 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot, okay? That gets you to $100 million, but not even close. $1 trillion, you're looking behind me at $1 trillion of 4 foot pallets stacked double high, almost as far as the eye can see. And $1.6 trillion, you have to add take half of it and add it even more. $1.6 trillion is a lot of debt. And what's fascinating is that 2/3 of this is owned by women. Fascinating. The con is not ended. Here it is. The government gives loans to students. The students give it to the universities. The universities raise their tuition. And then what happens is they get bigger and they grow, they get fatter and sloppier. In fact, in the last 40 years, administrative staff has grown 5 times as the number of professors. 5 times. So as we see, we're getting a lot of overhead and bloat. So because the students give the money to the universities and the universities don't have to make any tough economic decisions because they just raise their rates, hire more staff, have more bloat, more inefficiencies, the government gives more money to the students, the students take out the loans, and and the weight and the burden on the students becomes greater and greater. But if that was the end of the con, but it's not. As you well know, colleges and universities are mostly filled, 90-some%, with liberals teaching postmodern philosophy and economics, anti-capitalism, socialism, social justice. And as a result, they turn out students who then vote for liberal causes. And the liberals in Congress and in the administration then give more loans to students. So it goes off their backs, which gives more money to the universities so they can get fatter and then teach students how to ask for more government. Oh my gosh. But it's a con that costs everybody. Students coming out with that amount of debt, they put off buying houses, getting married, having children, and that's a huge cost to all of us as a culture. So what do we have next? The students feel the pain and demand debt relief. And the government gives them the debt relief, as Schumer and probably Biden will do. And their students then say, oh, you wonderful government, it's liberal. It's not like those harsh Republicans. They're giving us debt relief. Oh, I'm going to vote Democratic. So the con continues and it grows. And always when there's a con, somebody pays the price. Who are we conning? And here's the sad part. We're conning the middle class and the upper middle class. We are printing more money. The government has more debt than can possibly be repaid. We're adding more debt to it, and that's going to come out through either a debt collapse or inflation, which is going to hurt the middle class and the upper middle class the most. However, the debt relief is an illusion. Like the Wizard of Oz, the wizard has these big screens and smoke, and it looks big and wonderful, but it's all an illusion that is going to come crashing down, and our culture is going to pay the price. Much like Wile E. Coyote, when he runs off the cliff, universities and colleges may be looking down and saying, uh-oh, with COVID, we may see a major realignment. With the debt, we may see a major realignment. There are so many ways that technology and how we look at the process of higher education that we can collapse the cost to a fraction of what it is now and deliver more value. So maybe the good news in all the student debt and how it's going to be handled and the collapse, and maybe the collapse of the universities with new technologies and new processes and new methods of delivering a better education for less cost, that we will come out of this with a much better educational system. This is Rich Friesen with Rich's Reframes. Have a most wonderful day.